since we're here, I wanted to give you like a backstory about Rise. So, long story short, I was working at a church, working at Faith Outreach Center, um, and I was doing music and also doing ministry. And the church was so gracious, y'all, to let me do music as much as I was doing music, and then still, uh, you know, oversee the responsibilities that I had. I mean, there was a lot of flexibility there, and I'm forever grateful for that. And so, let me take it back. So, I think it was like 2015, when I started doing this campaign called Between Dreams and Reality. And it was this thing like there was this divine discontent. It was a holy discontent where I was just like, you know what? I have this gift to do hip hop and create and all that kind of stuff. And I just felt myself stuck, and I felt like I wasn't really reaching my full potential because I was working at the church and doing all that kind of stuff. So I ended up doing an album called Between Dreams and Reality. That thing took me on tour for like 3 years. It was crazy, and it was just an EP. I think it was like 6 songs or something like that, and it it went really well. The streaming wasn't that crazy. It was good, I guess, for like an independent artist, like, but the streaming wasn't that crazy, especially like back then. Um, but it was so well received by people who like pastors and ministry leaders at the time, and so it just like took off. And so I'm now trying to manage um, this music this music ministry thing that's happening, and then also the church responsibilities. And so fast forward to like 2017, I was out touring almost 100 days. I was touring with a couple of different artists, a hip hop artist, and then I was also touring with a worship artist at the time, and then I had my own tour stuff going on. It was just a crazy time. Like, I'm like, man, there's only 365 days in a year, and I still had to do my church things. And just the way that I'm wired, I'm like, man, I can't cheat either one of these things. So uh, it turned into it really turned into like a burnout time where I was just like, man, I like there's no way that I can do this. Um, and I ended up getting burned out, and I felt like in that moment, I felt like I didn't have the community that I needed as a creative. So I felt like I was, there was other artists who were attending the church and everything, and they would always talk about doing stuff. They would always talk about doing this and doing that, and I was like actually out doing it. You know what I'm saying? And so I felt like I couldn't really relate to them in a way. And I think some of that was, looking back on it, some of that was like a lie of the enemy. And then some of that was also, true. It was very true. The enemy, when he comes to lie to you, it's not like a whole blatant lie, but it's sprinkled with a little bit of truth. You know what I mean, in there. And so the truth was that I didn't really have what I felt like it was a community that I needed that could understand me as a creative. I was the youngest person on the elder team, and I always felt like I was the person that was thinking outside the box, and I was a squeaky wheel, and I was like, hey, let's do this, or hey, let's do that, let's try this, or why are we doing things this way? We can be doing things this way, and I felt like I just didn't fit there. But then I also, so it's hard for me to build relationship there. And then with the people that I was serving with, I was trying to build relationship there. But if you're a minister, you understand that when you're serving people, sometimes you can get to this place where you're trying to solve disputes, you're trying to do all of these different things, and it's just like, do are you really ready for me to bare my soul to you, um and you're going through all of these different things, or do I trust you with me, and the things that I'm going through. Do I actually trust you, or am I just gonna try to counsel you and help you get through X, Y, Z? You know, and I just felt trapped. I felt like I just didn't have the community, and so fast forward, I'm now sitting in the parking lot of the church, and I'm having this suicidal ideation, and I'm thinking like, you know what, like if I take my life, like nobody would care, and it's all the things, right? You know, all the lies of the enemy, and I'm thinking, about my family and all this kind of stuff, and it was just a really dark time for me, and so I ended up talking to my wife about it, and you know, she is great for giving wisdom all the time. The Lord's really blessed her with that, and so she actually suggested that I bring in some friends to just hang out. She's like, "Dro, you really don't have like friends," and I was like, and for me, in my mind, I'm trying to make the people that I'm serving with my friends, you know. And I'm like, okay, these are the people that I'm spending the most time with. Let's just make those friendships work. And I was really trying to make them work. And there were, you know, I did have friends there at the church, and friendships that I still have to this day. But I felt like in that moment, it was just hard for me to like really share what I was going through with some of those people. And so I'm like, man, well, I heeded the voice of my wife, which was really the Holy Spirit, like speaking through her. And I invited some other artists that I knew, over to the house. And so I did that. And I always say like that was a life giving experience for me because I walked. If they came over to the house, and when they left, I just felt so refreshed, and I was like, man, I really, really needed that. Thank God, it was just like this weight was just lifted off of me, and I was like, man, somebody actually gets me because we were talking about art, we were talking about marketing. I still remember some of the stuff that we were talking about during that time, and we were talking about like all these things that mean stuff to us, and I was like, man, like that's really what I needed. So fast forward, I was thinking, man, there's probably other people who really could use what I just experienced. And so put a little website. We had a website for my music, and we put a little page on there, and it was a sign up for this artist community. Who wants to be a part of this artist community? And so we put it on, like Facebook and all that kind of stuff, social media, and like within the first week, it was 100 people who signed up. Most of them were from San Antonio. Some of them were artists who were following what I was doing, like with music, and like I said, I was touring and all that kind of stuff. And so some people were following because of that, and yeah, they signed up, but most of them were in San Antonio. So after that first week, 100 people signed up. Second week, and I think it was like second and third week, like another 100 people signed up, and I was just like, whoa, 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 like what's happening? And so, long story short, guys, we started this creative community, and we decided to have our first hangout at a park. We brought some speakers. People brought food. I mean, and it was just like, hey, we're singing, we're doing hip hop songs. It was like this open mic thing / picnic and all that kind of stuff. The kids were having a blast and everything. And that's how Rise started. And so we started meeting once a month, and we started doing that in I think it was 2018. It was either end of 2017 or 2018, but we started doing like those gatherings like once a month. And that happened pretty regularly, like all the way up until maybe like a few months before COVID ended up happening. A few months before 2020. And so we were just, it was crazy. Y'all know how 2020 was, and as bad as it was like a reset for us. What ended up happening was in 2018, I ended up leaving the church, going full time into music and being a missionary into the arts culture. Um, all of that, I was just trying to process, and I had no like frame of reference for what this was going to look like. We were building the plane in the air. We had no idea, and so we're doing all of that kind of stuff, and in the process, this Rise thing became an event, and I was really looking for community, and so I found myself doing this once a month event, and I was like, oh man, I need to. Where are we going to meet at this time, and who's coming, and doing all of this stuff, right? And so when 2020 came and the events were shut down, I focused on relationship. And so I was meeting with some people over Zoom and all of that. Started investing into leaders, and then, discipleship started happening. During that time, people started asking if they could start their own community through Rise, and they all have their own different stories. But yeah, that's what it is now. Essentially, is like it's a network of communities, and yeah, God has been doing some amazing things through the Rise movement. Yeah, we just last year, or I'm sorry, in 2023, we had 50 people who were like saved and baptized, and we had all these insane like outreach events and all that kind of stuff, and it was really cool. Communities have like we've seen some like Church of Acts type of stuff happening in our communities as well. People sharing and caring for one another, and businesses popping up out of what we're doing. People being connected to other people and starting businesses, and all this. Like it's been, guys, it's been nothing short of like God's hand in what has happened with the Rise movement, and I'm just excited to see like where it actually goes. And so as you're like on this journey with us, this is the backstory. This is how all this stuff started, and our goal for the Rise movement. We really do want to plant these communities in cities all around the nation. We believe that this is a national call, and we believe that communities, just like the ones that we're experiencing now, communities and movements, all of that kind of stuff is gonna happen throughout the nation. Creatives, a lot of times we can get so caught up in production and this and that, and not have something grow in a healthy way. And so with Rise, we do see that vision, just like Abraham saw. The Lord gave him a vision. Hey, your descendants are going to be as numerous as the sands on the seashores, as numerous as the stars, right? So we see that vision, but then it's up to the Lord to actually make it happen. I think this vision, like Abraham, is going to be something that actually outlives us. We want it to outlive us, and we may not see like the fullness of it actually going in, all throughout the U.S. I don't know. I would love to see that happen. I'm going to work to see that happen, but ultimately, like it's up to God. But I do know that's our call. It is like it's deep. It's deep in our hearts, and we want to see that happen to the point where we're not even trying to take. We don't want to take all the credit for everything. We've known that collaboration means that you have to be humble and you have to take on the form of a servant leader. And so sometimes servant leadership is just pushing other people forward, pushing them into the spotlight, and letting God do what God's going to do through them. So it's less like a company and more like a family, to where we're just like, you know what, we're going to plant the gospel through art. We're going to raise up other people. We're going to raise up sons and daughters who start their own families. And it's just this movement that happens. And so I'm excited to see where it happens. I want to thank y'all for joining us on the journey.